We've got EYETEST on the show that now says he's Ollie in. EYETEST, explain your thought process to me, please.
No, I still want Oli out. But what I was thinking is maybe keep him till the end of the season, because right now there's not many good options. What I want is my dream manager is Ancelotti. So what I think is we should, if we know we could get Ancelotti at the end of the season, I would actually keep Oli till the end of the season and try to get Ancelotti. A lot of people would say he wouldn't come, but he's at Everton. And obviously Everton have a project. But if Man United come to Ancelotti and say, come over here, we're gonna offer you the job, I think he'd say yes. I think also if you wait till the summer, you could probably get Brenden Rodgers. There's more options in the summer. Right now, there's only Poch out there. And
well, look, listen, I get your train of thought, and it makes sense, but you're acting like this board has a plan, mate. You're acting like this board thinks ahead. You're acting like this board could actually hatch a plan of that level without dismantling this particular season. And interestingly, I mean, which manager right now in the world, we won't get Pep or Klopp because of who they're managing. Who would be your number one choice?
The options are looking very, very poor, low quality. We made the big mistake for not getting Pep or Klopp, but the dream is Ancelotti. Somehow get him out of Everton. That's who I want.
Is that? Do you want just Ancelotti? I mean, you've called this show 200 times probably in the last couple of years. I've never heard you mention Ancelotti. Is it because he had a good start? You do realise he just lost 3 games on the bounce and hasn't won in 4 league games.
Okay, but look how many Champions Leagues he's had.
Yes, he has. Do you still think he's got... What I'm saying is, do you still think Ancelotti is good enough to make Man United the best team in Europe again?
He's one of the best managers of all time. I don't know how anyone can say...
No, he is. He's not. That isn't what I said. That isn't what I said. Is he still good enough to make Manchester United the best team in Europe? Because that has to be the aim. The next manager can't come in and be a... I don't want the next... I like Nagelsmann, right? I'm happy for a manager like Nagelsmann to come in and take 2 or 3 years to get us back, 3 or 4 years to get us back to the top. I don't think Man United can afford that. Our fans are too trigger happy. We want almost instant success. So you need to bring a manager that can come in and do that. Do you think Ancelotti is that guy?
I think he's the best realistic option out there, because obviously you can't get Pep.
See, I don't think he's realistic. I don't think he's realistic. The fact that he's just joined Everton, I think he has a bit more integrity about him than that. I think he started a project there and wouldn't just walk away for no reason without being backed. I also don't think he'd want to work with this board. I think the board at Everton are more likely to put faith in him and trust him and give him what he wants, as opposed to Manchester United. And why don't you want Poch?
No, there's a couple managers that I would want before Poch, like Ancelotti, like Brenden Rodgers.
Why Brenden Rodgers? Brenden Rodgers is not one. I know he won stuff in Scotland, but he was in a one-horse race. Why Brenden Rodgers?
You see, this is something I want to address. I said this on a comment a couple videos back. I don't understand why people don't give Brenden Rodgers as much respect as Pochettino. This guy has done just as much as Pochettino. Just as he's look what he's done with Liverpool. He nearly won the league. If Gerrard didn't slip,
no, but that isn't true. It isn't just about Gerrard not slipping. See, that's fan talk. See, this is where your football knowledge stems from banter, my dear friend. That slip is an iconic moment. Conceding 3 goals after being I think they're 3-0 up against Crystal Palace is an iconic moment. But I watched that season and I remember listening to Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville talking. And this was maybe 4 or 5 games prior to the slip. And they turned around and said, the biggest issue with Liverpool is they're conceding too many goals. Defensively, they're not sound. They win games by outscoring their opponents. And they both basically said, although it's exciting, that isn't a sustainable way to try and win a league title. It just isn't, because they're always vulnerable at the back. And in the end, what did Liverpool in was they were vulnerable at the back and they conceded too many goals. They were too exposed and too open at all times. that for me always goes unnoticed. Equally with Brenden Rodgers in his English league career, not what he did in Scotland, but as again, he wasn't being challenged in Scotland like Gerrard's challenging things now. This was earlier on than that. He got out of there at the right time, just as Rangers were on the way back up. Every single season at the highest level, Brenden Rodgers in the Premier League, he's bottled something. Now, listen, that's the same criticism you could put on Poch's head. I'm not saying don't employ Brenden Rodgers. I just don't understand why you're sort of so hell-bent on managers who haven't achieved anything. Yes, they play more attractive football, but they haven't won anything. They're both renowned for bottling things. I don't understand why they're so. I can't understand why they're so high up on your list.
Well, that's not true, because when I first came in, I said Ancelotti is my first option.
Okay, but you said realistic. Ancelotti's not realistic in my opinion. But you've mentioned Brenden Rodgers and Poch on the show a lot. I concede that they're better managers and more experienced managers than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I concede that straight away. We'll play better football under them. But Man United's standard has got to be to get to the highest level. I'm talking about you here, not other Man United fans. I have the patience to give Poch 4 years to make us Premier League champions. I have the patience for Nungelsmann to have 4 or 5 years to get us back to the top. I have that patience. And I think fans will be a little bit more forgiving if the football is more attractive. I don't think you're in that space. You are a quintessential glory hunter that wants trophies now. You don't care about the tapestry of the club. You don't care about the heritage of Manchester United. You disrespect our legends on a very regular basis. I bet you don't even know who Wilf McGuinness is. You know, I guarantee you don't know nothing about Manchester United, and that's fine. You're a consumer. You're a customer of the club. So you wouldn't give Brenden Rodgers, you wouldn't give Poch more than 18 months before you started calling for their head if they weren't quite ready. So I don't get why you would pick managers that have not yet established. No, it is true. It is true. It is true.
I would
100% true.
If they give me something to buy into. The reason I'm only out now is because I've seen him change his system so many times.
He hasn't changed his system. This is where you don't understand football. He's not changed his system. Changing your formation isn't changing your system. They're not the same. A formation is the base position. Hang on a minute. No, it hasn't. He has two. No, it hasn't. It's a myth and a lie. It isn't. No, we play two different ways. EYETEST. So tell me how we play two different ways. We play counter-attacking football, and we play the fluid football, which is very direct, 4 or 5 passes, and we look to be in the opponent's box. The formation that we set up in is primarily done to counter the formation of the team that's in front of us so that territories are not dominated. And in the vast majority of big games, we've got that right. And in some of the smaller games, it's not really about the territories. It's about being able to break people down. And he hasn't got it right often enough against smaller teams. I concede that. But we've had two styles, and often we adapt both those styles in the same game. Against PSG and RB Leipzig, they're case in points, where we play counter-attack football in the earlier stages. And then we played a more aggressive, direct football, the fluid football in the second half of those games and came out on top. Just because you change formation doesn't mean you're changing your style. This is an absolute myth that's created by football hipsters that doesn't exist. Teams playing two ways, very direct, fluid football or counter-attack football. That's been it the whole time. The formation could be 10 different formations in a game. The style of football remains the same. You know, Pep Guardiola doesn't change his style of football, whether he's playing a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 or a 3-4-3. The formations are there to protect particular territories on the pitch. Everybody knows that about football, bro.
That's not true, because when Oli
it is true. It is true. It's completely true.
High intensity style of football when he first came in. That for that half season, high intensity football, high press. Then the second season, at the beginning of
just stop for a second. Stop for a second. I don't want you to embarrass yourself. EYETEST. Man United still high press, but you can't high press against teams that don't have the ball and sit behind it. You high press against teams that are coming at you and trying to play. And we do that in our counter-attacking game, but we do it in the right areas of the pitch. We press when they're deep in their own half, or we press them at the edge of our box. When the ball's in the middle, we don't. You're literally making things up, EYETEST. All the things you're saying we used to do, we do still do. All that happened in those opening games is we won a lot of those football matches. And do you know why? Because teams weren't sure how Ollie's team were going to set up. And then what happens is teams went, okay, well, we'll sit behind the ball, see if you can break us down. And as soon as teams started sitting back against us and we started failing to win, more teams started to do it. Have you noticed that most teams that open up against us and attack, we have a very good win percentage against? because we use the high intensity press. We struggle to break teams down, and that's Ollie's biggest flaw. And if Ollie could master that, if Ollie could invent a third system that broke down low blocks better, there'd be no issue with him. That's as far as as I see those things, as it were. Anyway, that's just my opinion on them. Anyway, EYETEST. So you're going to support Ollie for the rest of the season now, then?
If it means we could get someone like Ancelotti at the end of the season, I'm happy to keep Ollie till the end of the season, because Ancelotti is the main man for me.
You're an interesting guy, EYETEST. You're a very interesting guy. I appreciate you phoning the show, supporting the channel as always, mate. I do appreciate that as ever, even though we disagree on most things. But listen, you take care of yourself, buddy, and we'll speak to you again soon. Thank you. EYETEST there wants him in, wants Ancelotti as the new manager. That guy changes his mind like the weather. And I stand by what I say. Nothing's changed in Ollie's system. Ollie's just added new elements. The irony is this. I don't want Ollie to be... I want Ollie to have a plan B and a plan C. I want him to try different things in games. I want him to show tactical nous to change things. So he adds new elements to his game. Some work, some don't. And then people moan that he's changing his approach. You can't ask somebody to have tactical variety and actually accuse them of having no tactical nous and then moan that they change their tactics. That's an oxymoron. That is the quintessential oxymoron. It really is. Hit that like button, people, right about now for us. Thank you very much to Marcus for becoming an Academy member of the Football Terrace. That means a great deal to us. And Edward Waters here with a super chat. We're going to read that in just a second. Says, my issue with Ollie is the coaching structure, and the inconsistency with results and personal selection. How do I get involved in calling? Edward, just search Football Terrace FC on Skype and call in. And Edward, I don't disagree with what you said there. My bugbear was when people tell me that Ollie has no tactics. And then EYETEST said that. Ollie has no tactics. And then he tells me that he keeps changing his tactics. You can't not have tactics if you keep changing your tactics. They don't all work, but that means he has tactical nous. So he's trying new things. I think these are people, they just want to overly criticize. Does he implement his tactics to the best of his ability at all times? The answer's no. We know this. But the only tactic that he hasn't really installed particularly well has been breaking down low block teams. Like if we're not going to nitpick, that's about it. Rams on the show.